Hello, we are a collective of George Brown students that are passionate about social justice issues, and today we'd like to focus on trans rights. Trans stands for transgender, it's an abbreviation. Transgender is a term that is used to describe people whose gender identity differs from the sex that they were assigned at birth. When a person experiences anxiety, distress, or unhappiness because of the disconnect that they feel between their bodies and their gender identity, this is called gender dysphoria. Gender is a social construct that governs our society, essentially creating what it means to be male or female. Sex is the biological sum of your parts, which is physical anatomy, hormones, and chromosomes, whereas gender identity is how you perceive yourself. It is how you take the ideas out there that represent gender and tweaking it to what works for you. Non-binary gender is any gender that isn't exclusively male or female. Non-binary people may feel some mix of both male and female, somewhere in between, or something completely different. When you say cis, what you mean is cisgendered. Someone who is cisgendered feels that their gender identity matches with their sex.
Tracing transgender roots. In 1969, Virginia Prince coins the word transgenderal in Men Who Choose to Be Women. The Stonewall riots were monumental to the trans movement. Drag queens, including famous Marsha Johnson, who threw her shoe at a police officer, are among those who resist arrest during the police raid on the Stonewall Inn in New York City's Greenwich Village, which is recognized as the catalyst for modern-day gay rights movements in North America. In 1972, Sweden is the first country to allow and pay for transgendered citizens to get legal sex changes. 1999 is the beginning of Transgender Day of Remembrance. It is observed in November in honor of 1-year anniversary of unsolved murder of a Boston trans woman, Rita Hester. In 2009, first trans march on Church Street in Toronto happens, started by trans activist Cara Matheson. It's not recognized by Pride Toronto. They didn't have a permit from the city of Toronto. In June 2017, Bill C-16 is passed. Canadian Human Rights Act, Equal Opportunity and/or anti-discrimination legislation prohibit discrimination against gender identity or expression.
Public washroom access. The Single-Sex Public Facilities Bill, HB 583, neglected to mention a single report of a cisgender person being assaulted by a transgender person in a public washroom. There are, in fact, 0 reports of a trans person attacking a cis person in a public washroom. On the other hand, 70% of trans people have reported being refused entrance, attacked, or harassed on some level while using a public washroom. Name and gender marker change. Studies on trans Ontarians found 58% couldn't get academic documents to use the correct name or pronoun. 28% could not get references for a job with their current name or pronoun. 48% of fully transitioned people have no government-issued ID with their correct gender. In April 2012, the Human Rights Tribunal of Ontario decided transgender people don't require sex reassignment surgery to change their gender on government documents.
Hormones and surgery. The hormone available for females transitioning to males is testosterone. The hormone available for males transitioning to females is estrogen. The reproductive system, along with the physical and brain development, are affected with the use of hormones. Surgeries available for transgender males are the removal of ovaries and mastectomies. Surgeries available for female transgender females is the removal of testes and breast augmentation. Although surgeries can be a great source for trans individuals, the waiting list times can take up to several months or longer. A 2006 Dutch survey proved that access to transition-related treatment has lowered the suicide rates in the trans community from 51% to 29.3%. Sex work and sexual assault. At times, sex work is the only option for trans people career-wise. The dangers of being a sex worker are high, but as a trans sex worker, you are placed in an extremely dangerous and vulnerable position. Nearly 1/3 of trans people will experience poverty in 2015. 69% of trans people had experienced either being fired or being denied a job due to their identity. 64% of trans people reported mistreatment by police in 2011. Nearly 10% of these people reported being sexually assaulted by police. 49% of Canadian trans students experienced sexual harassment in their school environments. Hate crimes. Trans people experience immense physical, sexual, and verbal violence in streets, school, and work environments, in their homes, and in government facilities due to their identity. More than 1/4 of trans people have experienced a bias-driven assault. 2017 holds the highest record of violent fatalities against trans people in the U.S., the number of deaths being 25. 84% of these victims were people of color. 80% of them were women.
Cool. Resources: the 519 Community Center, Sherburne Health Center, Delisle Youth Services, Eagle, PFLAG, Central Toronto Youth Services, Rainbow Health Ontario, David Kelly Clinic. Specific programming for youth: Buddies in Bad Time, Soy supporting our youth, and the Glad Day Bookshop.